Welcome to another episode of Pursuing Wisdom. My name is Robert Davis, and today we will look at the effects of the fall from the Garden of Eden story. In the book of Genesis, the tree of knowledge of good and evil represented the choice between submitting to God's law or pursuing their own personal autonomy. When the serpent tempted Eve, saying, "Ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil," he was implying they would judge for themselves. They would no longer be in the position of a child, having what is good and bad imposed upon them. The serpent tempted the woman with the option of self-governing before she learned submission to God, and he tempted her to achieve this by way of disobedience. It's important to understand that this could have been achieved through obedience as well, but without the consequences of sin. And that is the real tragedy. Adam and Eve were already decreed by God to rule creation. The desire to become like gods was not a bad thing. However, this was to be achieved in the same way the rule of Jesus was achieved, by submission to God. The Apostle Paul declares, "The heir, as long as he is a child, is no different from a slave, though he is the owner of everything. But he is under guardians and stewards until the date set by his father." Galatians 4, verses 1 and 2. Adam and Eve were just as Paul described. They were children in the position of servants. Having not yet achieved the promised inheritance, they first needed the schoolmaster of the law. Their obedience to God would have resulted in greater freedom and glory. They would have understood that submission to God's rule is good and fitting, and by humbling themselves, they would have been exalted. The result of the fall is the fact that all humans now possess a sin nature. This innate proclivity to sin is passed down to humanity as if it has been placed in our DNA. I think Paul best described the effect of the sin nature in the book of Romans, chapter 7, verses 14 through 25. "For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin. For that which I do not allow, for what I would, that I do not, but what I hate, that do I. If then I do that which I would not, I consent unto the law that it is good. Now then, it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me. For I know that in me, that is, in my flesh, dwelleth no good thing. For to will is present with me, but how to perform that which is good I find not. For the good that I would, I do not, but the evil which I would not, that I do. Now, if I do that which I would not, it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me. I find then a law, that when I would do good, evil is present with me. For I delight in the law of God after the inward man. But I see another law in my members, warring against the law of my mind, and bringing me into captivity to the law of sin which is in my members. O wretched man that I am, who shall save me from this body of death? I thank God through Jesus Christ our Lord, so that with the mind I myself serve the law of God, but with the flesh the law of sin." Paul identified the problem, and he tells us the victory is to live spiritually minded in the next chapter. If we follow the Spirit, then we will not obey the flesh. But how do we accomplish this in plain, non-religious terms? I think the Native American story of the two wolves explains it best. An elderly Cherokee was teaching his grandchildren about life. He said to them, "A fight is going on inside of me. It is a terrible fight, and it is between two wolves. One wolf is evil. He is fear, anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, competition, superiority, and ego. The other is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, sharing, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, friendship, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. This same fight is going on inside of you and inside of every other person too. They thought about it for a minute. And then one child asked his grandfather, "Which wolf will win?" The old Cherokee simply replied, "The one you feed." This story gives us an easy to understand look at the daily struggle in our own lives. There is always a choice to make. Every day, multiple times per day. We are making a choice about serving God or not. This is why Jesus said, "If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me." We must die to ourselves on a daily basis. And in its simplest terms, it is a choice between two things. So just like Adam and Eve in the garden, you must decide which tree will you eat from. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to our channel. And as always, be blessed.